Two brothers dream of human flight. After manned failures and the experiments, they built the first successful airplane, proving that persistence can make the impossible possible. In the late 19th century, in the bustling city of Dayton, Ohio, two unassuming brothers, Wilbur and Orville Wright, ran a humble bicycle shop. But while their hands were busy repairing spokes and the chains, their minds were soaring miles above the earth. They were captivated by a dream that had enchanted humanity for centuries, the dream of human flight. This was not a mere fantasy for them. It was an engineering problem, a puzzle of physics and the mechanics waiting to be solved. They read every piece of literature they could find on the subject, from the theoretical works of scientists to the accounts of early glider pioneers like Otto Lilienthal. They observed birds in flight, meticulously studying how they angled their wings to turn and maintain balance. They realized that control, not just lift, was the missing piece of the puzzle. While others focused solely on creating wings that could generate enough lift to get off the ground, the Wrights understood that a successful flying machine needed to be controlled in all three axes of motion: pitch, roll, and yaw. This fundamental insight would become the cornerstone of their revolutionary work. Their bicycle business provided them not only with a steady income but also with a unique workshop and a set of mechanical skills perfectly suited for building the complex machinery their dream required. It was in this small shop amidst the grease and the metal shavings that the blueprint for the future of aviation began to take shape. Born from the shared vision and the intellectual curiosity of two brothers who dared to look at the sky and see a highway. The path from a bicycle shop to the sky was not a straight line. It was a winding road paved with countless failures and the painstaking experiments. The brothers began their practical work by building a series of kites and the gliders to test their theories. They understood that they couldn't simply build a full-sized, powered machine and hope for the best. They needed data. They needed to understand the principles of aerodynamics in a way no one had before. Their first major innovation was a concept called wing warping. By observing how birds twisted their wingtips, they devised a system of cables that would allow a pilot to twist the wings of their glider, altering the amount of lift on either side and enabling them to roll the craft from left to right. This was their solution to the problem of control. In 1900, they traveled to the remote, windswept sand dunes of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The location was chosen for its steady winds and the soft, forgiving sand, which would cushion the inevitable crashes. Their first glider was a disappointment. It produced far less lift than their calculations had predicted. Undeterred, they returned to Dayton and embarked on a period of intense, groundbreaking research. They realized that the existing aerodynamic data they had relied on was flawed. So, they decided to generate their own. In their bicycle shop, they constructed a small, 6-foot-long wind tunnel, a simple wooden box with a fan at one end. Inside this tunnel, they meticulously tested over 200 different wing shapes, carefully measuring the lift and the drag of each one. This systematic, scientific approach was revolutionary. They were no longer guessing. They were gathering empirical evidence, creating the first reliable tables of aerodynamic data in history. Armed with this new, accurate information, they returned to Kitty Hawk in 1902 with a new glider. The difference was night and day. This machine was a triumph, allowing them to make hundreds of controlled glides, some covering over 600 feet. They had mastered the art of soaring. They had solved the problem of control. The final piece of the puzzle was power. Having conquered the challenge of controlled flight, the Wrights turned their attention to the final hurdle, propulsion. No more existing engine was light enough and powerful enough for their needs. So, in their characteristic fashion, they decided to build their own. With the help of their gifted shop mechanic, Charlie Taylor, they designed and deconstructed a small, 4-cylinder gasoline engine. It was a marvel of efficiency for its time, producing about 12 horsepower while weighing only 180 pounds. But the engine was only half the battle. They also needed to design propellers to convert the engine's power into thrust. This was another area where no more reliable scientific data existed. People thought of propellers as simple air screws, but the Wrights realized they were far more complex. They astutely reasoned that a propeller was essentially a wing, rotating in the vertical plane. Applying the invaluable data from their wind tunnel experiments, they painstakingly designed and carved two highly efficient wooden propellers, another major breakthrough. With the engine and the propellers complete, they assembled their new machine, the Light Flyer. It was a biplane constructed of spruce and ash, with a wingspan of just over 40 feet and covered in muslin fabric. The pilot would lie prone on the lower wing, next to the lowering engine, operating the controls for the rudder, elevator, and the wing warping system. By the winter of 1903, they were back at the windswept dunes of Kitty Hope, ready for the ultimate test. After a failed attempt on December 14 that resulted in minor damage, they were ready to try again on the morning of December 17. The air was cold and the stiff wind blew across the sand. It was Orville's turn. He positioned himself at the controls, the engine sputtered to life, and the flyer began to move down its simple wooden launching rail. A few seconds later, history was made. The machine lifted from the rail and flew. It was an unsteady, wavering flight, lasting only 12 seconds and covering a mere 120 feet, but it was a true, controlled, sustained, and powered flight. They had done it. They had built the first successful airplane. That single 12-second flight on a cold December morning was more than just a successful experiment. It was the dawn of a new age. The Wright brothers had not simply gotten lucky. They had succeeded where countless others had failed through a unique combination of brilliant insight, relentless scientific rigor, and the unwavering determination. Their journey was a testament to the power of persistence in the face of skepticism and the repeated setbacks. They had faced technical challenges that seemed insurmountable, from flawed aerodynamic data to the lack of a suitable engine, and they had solved each one with ingenuity and methodical hard work. Their story proves that with a clear vision, a systematic approach to problem solving, and the courage to fail and learn, the boundaries of what is possible can be redrawn. The sky was no more longer the limit. It was the beginning of a new frontier. From that humble flight of 120 feet grew the entire modern world of aviation, connecting continents, transforming commerce, and expanding human horizons in ways that were once the sole province of dreams. The legacy of Wilbur and Orville Wright is not just etched in the history of technology. It is a powerful and timeless reminder that with dedication and an unyielding belief in an idea, persistence can indeed make the impossible possible.